So who's king, PSA or Beckett?
Ooh. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Cards to Yards. This is, of course, Cory DLG, and with you with me as always, Lou.
Hey, what's up?
And what we're doing today, we are doing an intro to part of the great, kind of the whole realm of collecting. One of the most important parts, getting cards graded. We are happy to work with most of the graders, and we can take care of a lot of this in store, but just so you even know what to ask for and what it looks like and how it comes back, we got some great examples here today. Off the top, though, who's your favorite company as far as grading goes? Who's your go-to preferred company?
I mean, everybody's typically the same. I mean, PSA is like your go-to. It's like you're the king of grading. I mean, as per most people would say, if they're looking for evaluations, they're looking for prices, they're always going to compare it to a PSA grade.
All right, that's fair. So for those who aren't aware of what we're talking about just off the top even, PSA is one of the premier grading companies. They're the most kind of known brand of them all. There's also HGA, SGC, Beckett. There are some smaller ones that are kind of cropping up, but these are pretty much the primary ones that you're going to be dealing with.
I think our youngest one here is HGA. They've been on the scene for about going on 3 years.
Yeah, I think that's right. And most interesting about them, though, we can start with them. What they do is different than the rest of them. Is they actually will put up some information about the card itself.
Custom logos. So you can choose to do custom logos for like extra $5. You
which
can
is
color how you want.
Which is very fun. I've done a couple of those on some cards. But also they show you the grading for the individual kind of 4 key ingredients to a good grade. The corners of the card, the surface, the edges, and then the centering of the card. None of this is within your control except really for the corners and I guess to an extent the surface.
Some people are like, well, corners and edges are the same. No, it's not. So you got your corners, which are your 4 corners, and then you got your edges, that's everywhere else, the straight line. Those can be like tarred, or they can be dirty, or they can have dirt in it.
Or creases.
Yeah, so that's your edges and your corners difference there. So I don't want you guys to get mixed up on the corners and edges.
So most interesting is HGA is the only one of the 4-ish companies that we really talk about that actually kind of shows you what they got on each of the 4.
Beckett does it. Beckett's notorious for that. Beckett was the one that started that whole thing there. I think for like an extra couple dollars, you can ask for those. They're called subgrades. You can actually get the subgrades. So I think that all grading companies need to do that in general because it helps us as collectors say, okay, well, where did I screw this one up at? Right. Oh, the corners. I got an 8.0 on the corners, but everything else was 9.5, and that's why I got a 9.
Right.
You know, it helps us versus a PSA coming back, and they look like this, and it doesn't tell us nothing. It goes, well, I mean, say if this was a 9, well, why did I get a 9?
Instead of a 10.
You know, help me become better at trying to figure it out. But
that's why I think the subgrades are
awesome.
I think it's a big help.
That's why I said it should always be. That should be like a constant standard thing. Yeah, like a standard across the board.
I don't disagree with that because I think it also kind of eases the mind a little bit. When you get it back and you be like, I did not see that.
Definitely did not see that. You know, I didn't think the corner was jammed, but apparently it was because I got a low grade on the corner grade.
Right. So then we can take a look here at SGC. I think really of all these.
SGC's been around for a while too. They're very popular in different parts of the nation, preferably like the East Coast. They like to go with SGC. SGC looks really good with the whole black background.
That's what I was about to say. It's a little decorative.
Yeah,
it's a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more than like Beckett.
So real quick, this one's a special one though because you know how you have Beckett Black Label or Black Label. You see how this one's a gold label? This is SGC's premier top of the line. This is a pristine card to them. So right here, I think it says pristine, right?
It does.
The 10.
It does.
Well, in most of them, there'll be gem mint. This one, since it's the gold outline, this one got a better score. This is like their black label.
Okay, so this isn't just a 10.
No, this is like a perfect 10. Yeah, this is like a perfect 10.
All right. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yep.
Then we can take a look at there's 2 different ones we set aside from Beckett today. One of them is a graded card. It's graded at an 8.5. And it's a signed out in Chimera. But they grade it as an 8.5. And so this is where you kind of see what Beckett does. It's a little plainer. So it's squared off. It's not as stylized as like a PSA. And they don't really kind of fill in the sides as the SGC does. But they do put their Beckett logo. They are. They're bulkier.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, like the HGA, they're bulkier, but I feel they're bigger.
Yeah,
but I feel that it's more protected, more sturdy. Plus, it's clearer.
I like the HGA one a lot more.
They're a lot clearer.
Yeah,
I like the HGA. I like what they're doing with and where they're going with this. It's just going to take time for them to really put their staple on the market.
But I think anybody who gets an HGA card isn't going to look at it and be disappointed.
Again, here's another one. This is just authentic. This is authentication.
So this is the other thing you can do with graded. You can choose to get a card graded, or you can choose to get one authenticated. And Beckett is kind of like the king of authentication. They work with thousands of athletes and tons of signatures on file. And so there's a difference between these two, because if you were to go to someone and just say, well, I got to authenticate it, it doesn't automatically put a value on the card. It just means that the signature is considered valid by the expert.
I mean, now some people are asking, well, why don't I just authenticate all of them? Okay, well, I mean, if you authenticate it, there's still a value on here, but just not as high as a number value.
Correct. This card is basically just worth the signature rate.
So just for you guys watching and to answer some of your questions here, when should you authenticate? Authenticate when it's like a vintage card, or it's not going to get a high grade. You want to go with just authentication to authenticate that signature, authenticate the card like a Michael Jordan rookie.
Right.
I mean, if it's not going to get a 9 or 8, and it's not going to be worth a lot, authenticate it. Because those are very, very easily duplicated and frauded, those Jordan rookie cards.
And also, there's a bit of a, when it's, this is the thing I like to say, because we see this in the store sometimes. It's like, grandpa knew a guy, or dad was a bad boy.
I mean, I trust you, but I mean, the person that's coming in to buy the card is not going to trust us.
They don't know any of it. So anything's authenticated goes a long way to validating that experience.
Definitely does. Another question for some of you guys that have asked me throughout time, I mean, when do you decide to use PSA? When do you decide to use Beckett? When do you guys SGC, etc.? All right. Typically, I use PSA for grading cards.
It's kind of the default.
Yeah, it's my default, right? If like Beckett or SGC or somebody's running a spectacular sale like they did on Black Friday with Beckett, then hey, guess what? We're going to take advantage of that. We're going to go with Beckett. They always running different types of sales for TCGs. It just really depends on there. But however, when it comes to Beckett, I like to send memorabilia.
Yeah.
For example, we just sent out a few Nolan Ryan balls that we were given, and we didn't know if they were real. There was no stamp, there was no Beckett cert, no nothing. So what we did is we sent out a few of them, and more than 50% of the balls came back authenticated.
Correct.
Like the Sandy Koufax one with the Nolan Ryan and the Bob Feller on there. And they give you a sheet with authentication. Now it is sealed in their system, and that certificate will follow that ball wherever it goes.
Right.
So I use them by default for memorabilia, and then I use PSA by default for cards. Yeah. Now, unless they're running a huge sale, and I can't, and Mama done taught me right, and she said take care of the sales.
That's true.
So I take advantage of them, and I go for sales.
And some of the ones for PC or something. So for HGA, I got a couple cards for my own collection that I got great with these to do the funny, they were funnier card. One of them was the whiskey of the president. So then I had the whiskey put in the little thing.
We just actually had one that was Mac Jones, and Bill thought it was one of his favorite cards, so he said get it custom labeled. And it was the notorious one with his shirt off, and he's got the cigar in his mouth. So they did a custom label with the cigar in the back.
That's awesome.
Custom label, yeah. So
and then you got
really neat. You can get fun with it. It's when I go HGA, we're all different. When I go HGA, it's something that I know I'm going to PC and I'm not going to sell.
Right.
They are a lot cheaper.
You say PC stands for personal collection.
Yes. They are a lot cheaper, and they do come back fairly quick. They're right here in Tennessee. And I like the whole customizing. I can customize it to my liking.
But ultimately, the reason we're not using that for the whole collection is simply it just boils down to the preference in the industry right now is PSA.
And let's get this correct, and then it's not how you say this. Everybody knows this. It's per value. People want the most value for their card. So the value again lays with PSA.
Right. I mean, that's because
unless you do Black Label.
Right. Now, and that's where everybody's at. Everybody's everyone's sort of agreed that PSA has the ultimate value here. PSA is where the ultimate value is at.
Yeah. So here we have two examples of PSA. There's different types of grading that PSA does. They do authenticating. This one right here is a Gem Mint 10, Van Jefferson. This right here is your just general run-of-the-mill, like, grade the card. I want the number on the card. Don't grade nothing else. Give me a card number.
Right.
So this is this right here. And then
we did a Becky Lynch dual grade. So they graded the card and they graded the autograph on the card. The reason for something like this is when you're confident that the auto's going to come back high, it's going to add value. Like if you can, as many 10s as you can put on a card, yes, the better off you are. So what we were hoping for was a mint 10 auto 10. It came back a mint 9 auto 10. So still in the realms of 10, you're still happy with that. Still going to have a good value on it. It could have had a better value if it would have been 10-10.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
Right.
Right.
But ultimately what happens is with something like PSA, they use the human element. And so you're not always totally certain where it's going to land or how it's going to get graded out.
Yeah, versus like HGA. HGA stands for hybrid grading approach. So what they do is they use human elements for grading as well as like computer technology.
That's how they determine the centering of the card.
Determine the centering, like the edges, that microscopic look. I mean, yeah, you can get with so much with lenses, but when you can get a computer to really get into that card and analyze the whole thing, you get more of an accurate count. And that's why a lot of people choose not to go with HGA, believe it or not, because they grade very, very hard, which I like it. And I can see why people don't like it.
Yeah.
I like it because, hey, look, I'm getting a for real grade here.
Right.
Like, they're being 100%. It isn't,
this is an independent, actual, verified.
Well, because there's too many 10s in population, we don't want to give another 10.
Which,
it's
already confirmed that
it's a rumor. It's a rumor.
That's a belief among the PSA situation, is that they are kind of protecting. They don't want to just hand out 10s, even if think about it. If every card they graded wound up being a 10,
it would lower the value of the card.
Of the mark, and also it would come into question the credibility. Whether or not it's correct or not.
It's a rumor floating around.
Yeah. And so that is a tough thing, but with the computer element to it, it kind of gives them a little bit of protection from that suspicion.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what all of this kind of comes down to, though, is preference. The SGC really grades a nice card in a slab. It's a very nice, I like the black bordering and all of that.
Especially if you have like a very vibrant color, it jumps off that black.
The Beckett's, I think it's probably the plainer of them.
Like more straightforward type look.
But it is also like the daddy of authentication. Like if you're talking about...
PSA and Beckett's been out there for the longest. Those are your two big dogs. But as far as value, it comes down to PSA. And then Beckett's not that far behind.
Definitely
not. There on the table.
And I think where Beckett is smart is they also have offered the choice of memorabilia. Because I think you're right. My first
PSA does it too.
They do, but my first thought when I think memorabilia is Beckett.
Yeah. Immediately right off the bat, Beckett is my go-to memorabilia.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
And then cards are to PSA. It's just my preference. Everybody has their own preference. We can sit here all day and explain that to you, but at the end of the day, if you like blue and I like red, I'm not going to change your mind on it, right? So we go that route.
Maybe try yelling red at them a lot. Over and over again. So ultimately, that's kind of the wrap up on grading. It's on a scale of 1 to 10.
We do offer PSA, Beckett, SGC, and hybrid grading here.
We will send them off for all 4 companies for you.
Our prices, when you look at our prices on our sheets, they do include shipping costs, shipping materials, and insurance. Yeah. So we're probably, let's just throw a number out there.
$30, right? $6 over.
$30,
yeah.
But that includes everything, all from when you get the card. From when you turn over the card to when you get it back. It covers everything, and there's no tax on it either. So that's a great thing. Versus some other folks that might have it. Oh yeah, you get it at $20 a card, but they're not charging you for the shipping, their insurance, and all.
Or they're charging you.
So you have to ask those questions if you're going somewhere else other than here, but our prices all include that. We take care of your cards as if they were our own. We do evaluate cards for free, so if you want to come by here, you want to get our opinions on it, it's always good to put more eyes on the card, because some people can catch other things that others can't. And we will go ahead and recommend what you should do with it, whether to keep it raw and sell it, or send it out for grading, or hey, look, this might get a 9, this might get a 10, or just won't grade well.
Well, ultimately, it's up to you what you want to do. We have had customers come in with cards as part of their PC, and we said, okay, this won't get a 10. We wouldn't recommend grading it. And they say, well, it's from our personal collection. I really just want to get this King Griffey Jr.
Like one-of-ones. Like one-of-ones. A lot of people don't grade one-of-ones, and the reason behind that is because you own the market on the one-of-one. That's the only card in existence. There's nothing you can value it towards anything. So a lot of people, what they tend to do is if it's a PC, they'll grade it. But what I highly recommend for one-of-ones is just authenticate it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just like they did with the
One Ring?
The One Ring. No, he actually number graded it and he got a 9.
Yeah.
But if anything, with one-of-ones, you always just authenticate it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of cards, there's some people out there that can fraud some cards, man.
And remember, it's going to come back on a slab, it's going to be sealed in and protected, and it's going to be labeled by the grading company, so it'll have the information for that card. You're right. If it's a one-of-one, authenticating it's never a bad idea, just to protect it.
No, definitely not. I would always, like one-on-one sketches, just authenticate them.
Yeah.
Because they're already rough, and it's like a rough giraffe in a way, or a rough sketch, because, it's got a lot of hinges. It's just it's just so many things going on with that thing. But yeah, that's pretty much our take on grading. It's fairly simple. Once you start doing a lot more, but then again, when you have people like us to assist you and guide you through that whole process, we make it a lot easier for you guys.
We try to.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out.
Hold up.
Oh.
Let's go ahead and let them know about some of the releases real quick while we're here.
Sure, go ahead.
We have a few releases coming out this month. We are coming into the month, ending off the month here in November. So we have tomorrow's releases, the 29th, or 11/29. We have one of my favorites, Topps Finest Star Wars.
Oh.
Some of the best looking cards, Topps Finest Star Wars, dropping on the 29th.
We
do have a few hobby boxes here, and we'll put a couple out for sale. As far as like mini boxes, we have 2023. I've never been so excited to say this. Topps MLS Soccer Hobbies.
Hey.
All right.
This is big time.
This is big. Now instead of 200 cards being set, there's now 201. And if anybody can guess who that name is, hey, you already know why it's going to be super, super fun.
He's wearing a pink shirt and his team is owned by David Beckham.
There you go. Messi joins the MLS and just sets this thing on fire. So the first set comes out tomorrow, the 29th, and we do have some boxes available for sale. And then starting off next week, I'm really excited to say that Donruss Football is releasing. We're going downtown hunting.
Oh.
We may not have signatures from Bryce, CJ Stroud, Levy's, and select others, but they have downtowns.
That's right.
So we're going to be downtown hunting for that. And Panini 1-in-1 Basketball. Panini 1-in-1 Basketball is the only place where you can find downtowns for basketball.
Okay.
They're not in Donruss. They're not anywhere else. They're only in Panini 1-in-1s.
Interesting.
They're really, really neat.
That's dope.
And I think... I don't know if we're getting any of this, but this would be pretty cool because if you played the game, Midnight Suns.
Oh, they're doing cards for it?
Fleer is dropping it on the 6th. Fleer Ultra Midnight Suns. That was a video game.
That was.
It was pretty cool. It was more strategic. Kind of reminded me like fantasy, Final Fantasy type
tactics.
Tactical. Yeah. So that comes out next week as well, too.
And Fleer's those are the higher quality cards. When they do the Fleer brand, it's always those
Fleer Ultra. Not just Fleer. Fleer Ultra.
Oh. So these would be nice cards.
These are going to be nice artwork. I love the Marvel artwork on a lot of these things.
Probably get a lot of those graded.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on just some of the releases coming out next week. We do have some breaks up. Please check our e-com. We'll tag you down below right here. You can go ahead and click that button right here. And it'll lead you guys to our breaks. We have football and baseball up.
That's right.
They're filling quickly, and they're very, very affordable and cheap. So please get in while you guys
join in. Every entry is 1 2, and we're going to break it up. All right, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us as always. This is Cards to Yards. I'm Cory DLG, and that's Lou.